Hey guys, Justin here. Quick note, if you're looking for a guide this week, I'm going to forego it for this video, but check the link in the description and you'll get access to my early bird guide for USA Dirt this week. Alright, down to the video. So before I do the race or qualifying or anything of that, I want to just talk about some of the fundamental issues that I have with the Arca card on dirt in its current state. I want to dispel maybe a couple opinions that people may have when they first react to what I'm talking about right here. But first of all, I think that Arca could be on dirt, and I think that having dirt on the Arca schedule is not the worst thing in the world. My main point is that I think that the Arca car is just broken compared to other stock cars with how they drive on the surface. And I think that adding that on top of a series where you have 24 people, up to 24 people on one track, and no cautions, I think that that's kind of a silly thing to put on the schedule in the current state of these Arca cars. So you see, I'm having a really hard time keeping the car going straight on the straightaways and getting the car to turn in the turns. And so it's like the car wants to go straighter in the turns than on the straightaways, and it turns better on the straights than it does in the turns. And one of the main reasons for this is that you can't go full throttle. And that's fine. I don't expect to go full throttle, as you'll see later when I run the trucks. You can't go full throttle on those either. But the penalty for going over your tire slip is a hard hook to the right, pretty much. And what a hard hook to the right does is it's just kind of ridiculous. You put you towards the wall, it messes up angles, and it makes it almost impossible to try to push for lap time. So what that leads to is basically you just having to go really slow and baby it on the straights as well as the corners. And so that's the other thing about the Arca car on dirt, is that this thing does not seem to turn in the corners as well as any other of the stock cars. And I don't know why in the physics side of things, but I think it kind of makes sense because the Arca car was never really built to go on dirt. And so when you have kind of shoehorning the Arca onto the schedule, it kind of makes the developers go, okay, well, I guess we just have to build a setup with what we have and hope that it works on dirt. We throw in the dirt tires, but other series that go on dirt, they make sure that they actually work on dirt before going there, because that's why they basically added Eldora to the game in the first place. I mean, I know that there's other dirt cars that go on there, but one of the big selling points was that the trucks went there and the Cup was going to go to Bristol Dirt eventually. So those cars have to work on dirt, but the Arca car has never had to work on dirt before. So because of that, we have a setup, and this might be a great setup for what was given, but it's just this setup really, the only thing that you can do in this car is baby it around the track. The car does not want to rotate into the corner. You have to basically already have the car sideways for it to do anything, and even then, half the time you'll just slide up the track depending on if you carry too much speed or not. So I found that the best angle to take is actually close to this green cone, almost completely sideways, and then park the car like this, and then drive off the corner like this. But you can't put too much gas in it, because now it's turning towards the wall. And then 3 and 4, the best you can do is just baby the car. So I'll show you guys my best lap that I got on here, without wall riding, of course. After Ross Chastain yesterday, I have nothing more to say on wall riding. I think it's epic, and I think that everything is great. But I'm just going to talk about my issues with the car and how the race is run in general, because after a couple more laps here, I'm going to show you guys the same exact setup, but on the truck, and how this car just does not rotate and control in a state that's even near as refined as the truck. Let's show quickly of how the truck drives on this track and kind of compare. Alright, so now I'm doing the truck, the NASCAR truck at USA here, and I'm using the Eldora setup, which means this might bog down a little bit, might get a little high on the revs, but this should get the point across of how the two cars drive differently enough. So, as you can see, I'm still struggling to go full throttle, but it's not just full hooking in any direction. And now the cornering is really more easy in the corner. There's less sliding up, and I can just kind of go most throttle, but not full, just like in the Arca car. But I'll show you what happens if I try to go full throttle on the straightaway here. see it's a little over-rotating a little too much, which is kind of funny. So now I'm getting high up, and it's hooking to the right a little bit, but it wants to stay straight at the very least if you guide. The Arca car, it's almost like a full save every time it wants to hook to the right. I'm sure I could drive this a lot better, but
28.39.
already driving a low 28 on a very bad lap. And the car just, it handles so much better throughout the corners. And it looks a little labored, which, I mean, it's dirt, it's going to be in these boats, but it's definitely easier to manage than the Arca car. There's a little more feeling in it. A lot more consistent. I can just feel my way through all these corners with no issue. Really does not have any problems rotating, whereas the Arca car kind of stays stuck. So you have to really get it rotated for it to even want to turn, or else it's going to slide up into the wall. And then the other issues that aren't Arca car specific, this is issues with the truck too, is that you can also wall ride. But that's a dirt specific issue that I think Iracing has the capacity to fix if they wanted to. But pretty much this truck on dirt, it's just overall, even if it's still a tough drive, I mean, it's what you expect from a stock car on dirt at least. It feels like a car that could exist, whereas with the Arca car, it's just 100% tire spin. You're going to hook yourself into the wall with any amount of throttle. And just as of right now, you can see kind of the difficulties that I have driving the Arca car versus the truck. And the truck is not even made for this track. Or the setup is not even made for this track. This is an Eldora setup, which I guess for all intents and purposes is probably the same. But for the actual USA setup, for the Arca car, it cannot drive. So I think the issue might not just be the setup. I think it's fundamentally the Arca car just not being built at a time where dirt was even considered, and then when dirt was added, it wasn't optimized like the truck was, because the truck was the initial stock car that went on dirt, right? So when Eldora first went to the trucks and Eldora went on Iracing, Iracing had to really make sure that the truck was an actual driving experience. Whereas with the Arca car, it was never really an option to put dirt on the schedule until recently when the community started voting. So now you're getting things with the Arca car where you're putting a car that was never made to go on the surface, and you're just kind of trying to shoehorn it in with setups that are maybe the best shot that they could have, but I think something about the car might even have to change before it starts working. That's even close to how the truck is working. I mean, you see how I can just, it's not that much of an issue for me to get the car to the bottom. It's not that much of an issue for me to control it throughout the corner. Like, this is a real stock car on dirt driving experience. Or at least as real as it can be. I mean, we see in real life that these cars really don't even get sideways in these situations. But as far as Iracing goes, this drives a lot more soundly than the Arca car would. The problem is not knowing the lines, it's getting the car to do everything perfectly while also fighting against it turning on the straightaways. So that's just a couple of my issues with the Arca car and things that I want to see fixed. I don't know how Iracing went about to get the trucks to handle any better on dirt, but if possible, I'd like to see those changes implemented into the Arca car so that we could maybe have competitive races. But as it stands right now, I think that this is just a turnoff for every new user trying to make their way through the NASCAR ladder. There's no options besides Arca and the late models, and so a lot of people choose the Arca, and I think that it's kind of a disservice to those people to keep a broken car or a broken car track combo on the schedule when a lot of people could be racing other things in the NASCAR ladder. And I think that if dirt was fixed, I think that would be completely fine. I just don't think that this car drives the way that it should in a state to be running official races. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have any different opinions, I'd like to hear them. If you really enjoyed driving the Arca car in dirt, maybe I'm missing something really big, so just let me know what you think, and I will make sure to respond. All right, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.